Alright, let's talk about something that I'm going through and I know a lot of you are going through. Okay guys, we are moving slowly along right now with this car, and I'm going through what I like to call the mid-build blues. And I'm sure a lot of you have gone through this. I've gone through it before with other cars. I've gone through it with this car. It is a hard thing to get over. It sounds corny and it sounds stupid, but it really is a hard thing to get over. To get that motivation back again, to get out here in the garage, pick up wrenches, spend money on parts, and start installing them. So the past couple of weeks, I have been finding other things to do than the car. I've even pulled out my car cover and cleaned the car off with my California duster thing and put the cover on just so I didn't even have to look at it. Because honestly, the past 2 or 3 weeks, I haven't even thought about touching the car. I'm still ordering parts here or there. I just got some brake caliper brackets in so you can run stock SN95 brakes with 9-inch ends. But we'll go through that in another video once my big drill bit shows up so I can drill the stock rotors. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what I do to get over the mid-build blues. Now, I'm a very organized guy. I have lists, I have books, and it's lists upon lists upon lists. Part numbers, stuff I have to do, wiring diagrams, I mean, you name it, I have it written down. You could build a whole Mustang out of that book. And I also have my dry erase board, where I have my next to do and next to buy list. Here you go. There's my board. Now the need to do is obviously much bigger than my need to buy. See my eat donuts from my sister-in-law. Now, I purposely keep this list small just so it doesn't hurt the wallet too much. Doesn't hurt your mind to think that it's going to hurt your wallet much. I mean, there's not many parts here, but this is, besides, that's everything I need. Well, hold on. Now that I say that. That's everything I need to finish the rear end and get the car back on the ground. Small list. $150, $200, $150, $600, $175, $100. I don't know. So it's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not big money. This is what kills me. Is this list here. Now I try to keep this list this big and finish it. I've rewrote this list 30, not 30, probably about 10 or 12 times. Now before I got the board, I was doing it on sheets of paper, which I think I showed you guys before. I was writing it on sheets of paper, you know, little notepad paper. 10, 15 things on there, small things, nothing crazy, nothing big that you can do. Now, so what I do is I get this list like this, and it's just, it seems daunting when you're in this mind state of things you got to do to the car. And here we are, almost May. I mean, the weather hasn't been really great, so it hasn't really been that big of a deal for me. But it's almost May. Your car's not done, you can't go out and cruise, you can't go out and enjoy the car in the summer, and you just get depressed about it. and you realize how much money you still have to spend and how much work you have to do. So you know what I do is, I just wipe that shit off. Nothing next to buy. That one don't bother me that much. Clear that list. Got nothing to do. Now, I'll probably leave this for about, oh shit. I'll probably leave this for about a week, empty like this. And then it'll get to the point of where this bothers me, that this is empty and the car is not done. So then I'll come back and I'll start writing on it. Like I know I need to assemble the rear. And that's what I do. I'm like, okay. So, but I only do one at a time. That's it. I don't do any more than that. I will write that one thing down, and that's it. And when I finish it, I cross it off. When I'm back in the swing of things and I'm motivated and I want to work on the car is when I get the big list. Because some nights I'll knock off 3 or 4 or 5 things on this list and get going. And it feels great to see all the blank spaces in between. But when you're in this slump, you don't want that because then it's overwhelming. I only got one thing to do, assemble the rear. This is a great thing to have if you're building a car. Everybody should have a giant pad of paper. You know, go to your local craft store and they sell, you know, a 2-foot by 3-foot pad of blank white paper. I have one around here somewhere that I was using. Craft store, get a dry erase board. Make sure you get the dry erase correct marker so it doesn't do this. No, this wasn't permanent marker. It is a dry erase, but for whatever reason, it stays on there. And do this. This will help you, and I promise you this will help you. If you're in the middle of building a car and you're trying to put everything in here that needs to be done, that needs to be bought, that needs to be tightened, you're gonna forget. I guarantee it. And you will not remember everything you need to do or you need to buy. I write down every single part number of everything I need to buy. And I started that 3-4 project cars ago when I found a company who made some really cool parts for my Volkswagen, and I didn't write it down, and I could never find the company again because it was a small one-guy operation. Same with these brake brackets. This is a small guy. I got his name from a friend. Pretty sure he doesn't own, you know, a car company. Pretty sure he's a regular 9-to-5 guy and he does this on the side. But now I have his information. I have his email and his phone number, and that information's written down. Anyway, I'm just sitting here rambling, trying to help you guys stay motivated because I am unmotivated at this very minute. I want to get this car rolling. I want to get it on the ground. I want to get it driving, and I just lack the motivation to work on it. Another thing that doesn't help you is your friends. Some of you might have some great friends who want to come and hang out in your garage and help you work on your car. Some of you probably have other friends who are into cars too, and they're a little stab in the back, making jokes, saying this, saying that, your car's not done, blah, 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 blah. That shit don't help when you're in this slump, because then it's like, that stuff doesn't help. Or it does help when you're in this type of slump. People talking trash to me has never affected me. It never will. I don't care about other people's opinions. It's worthless, and I hope none of you let other people's opinions get to you, especially about your car. You have your own way of doing stuff. You got your own way of building your car. My car, I'm just over 2 years building this car last month. I picked this car up 2 years ago, March. And I thought it was going to be done within a year-ish, but I've changed a lot of stuff. And I don't go cheap on stuff, if you've noticed. Very few things here or there I go cheap on. I don't want to take my car apart every winter for upgrades. Some people have no problem doing that. Me, I'd rather pull that car in here for the winter, inspect the motor, inspect the tranny, inspect the rear, check every bolt front to back, make sure it's tight, put it on stands, put the cover on it, and that's it. I don't want to have to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, 100 more hours into upgrading things that you could have done when it was in the garage. Now, I'm not talking upgrade like, okay, I have an 80 millimeter billet and I've pretty much found its ceiling and I want to go bigger, so I want to go faster now. I'm meaning like, well, my car's got a rear end in it right now that's, you know, okay, it's not the ideal gears, it's not the ideal differential, it's not the ideal axles, so I'll just run it. Now, that's fine. You want to do what you want to do, go ahead, be my guest. Me, I'd rather not risk towing my car all the way to the track, paying $30 for a test and tune session, pulling up to the line, doing a burnout, letting go of that trans brake button, you grenade the rear. Now you got a fucking mess all over the track, if you didn't split the freaking housing, split the cover off. You gotta take the car home, middle of the season, it's down, you might not have the $1,000 it takes to redo the whole rear end. So you do that type of stuff now. I'm just rambling away, I don't even know, I forgot my train of thought. You'll get your motivation back, I promise you will. I'll get mine back. I've actually been doing a lot of yard work the past couple of days because it's coming in the springtime. But the number one thing that has always got my motivation back, it's worked every single time I've had this problem. What I do is I go to the track for a test and tune session. Just to go sit there and watch. Sit back in the stands, go with a couple of buddies, maybe one or two of them are racing their cars, help them out, go to an event, watch some racing. And I'm sure all of you know you want to come home and work on your car afterwards because you're mad that you're not out there. That's what I do. I usually go to the track. Or you don't even have to go to the track. I'll go to a friend's house who's got a running driving car and, you know, pull it out and do a burnout or go for a ride, something like that. That usually tends to help. So, in the end, it happens to all of us. The mid-build blues will happen, especially if you taking your time, making it be what you want to be. If you got some sloppy style of fucking rat rod, fucking Fairmont 4-door that you're slapping a junkyard 4.8 in with a fucking eBay turbo, no, it's gonna take you a month to build that car, and you're probably gonna break it 400 times. But that's not the type of build I'm talking about. When you got a build like this, where it's bumper to bumper, top to bottom, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, it's going to take time. Unless, you know, you have 50 grand to spend on a build, then it won't take that much time. But it's going to happen to every single one of you. I promise, I guarantee it. How you treat it is what makes you better at building cars. Some guys will go through this and they will sit out for a year, 2 years. I couldn't do that. There's no way I could take a year or two off from this car and just come back and be like, yeah, everything's cool. I mean, I can't take a year off because then I wouldn't have anything for my YouTube channel. But 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that's about my max. And I start getting antsy and then I start doing things again. I start watching racing, I start talking racing, all those things. So like I said, figure out how you can get around your blues. Figure out what brings you motivation, whether it's sitting down in the garage, drinking a beer, just surfing YouTube. Like I got my laptop on my toolbox and I'll just surf YouTube and have a beer while this sits behind me. And then if you're down there long enough, you'll probably pick up a wrench. Happens most of the time I work on my car. It's hanging out in the garage and I'll pick up a wrench and start working on it. If that's what helps you, or if ordering that new shiny part, whether you don't touch the car for a month, having FedEx drop that new part off helps too. I know. My brake brackets came in yesterday. Thanks USPS for taking a week and a half, or 2 weeks, whatever it was. So we're that much closer to finishing the rear end. But it's any of the things. You got to figure out what works for you. There's a couple things, like I said, that work for me, but you got to figure out what works for you. And I hope that you guys can get over that milestone and get back to building badass cars. So there it is. That's what I wanted to tell you guys. Go down to the garage, crack open a nice cold beer, sit back, stare at your hot rod, and think about all the cool stuff you're going to do to it next. Have a good night, guys.